Hello and good afternoon everyone. Today I'll be doing second topic in our practical session of PT Clinicals and Project Work 2, that is to outline the musculoskeletal examination in detail. So just recapitulating what we read in our last class, we read about that there are two types of examinations. We saw that yes, there is a motor examination or what we call it as musculoskeletal examination, which we will be reading in this session. And we read in detail about the sensory examination, which was very clear to us. What kinds of sensations are there? Combined cortical, superficial, deep. How are they tested? What are the tools used? So we also read about the uh, patient position, the therapist position, and various such aspects. Now, today we'll be reading about musculoskeletal examination much more in detail. We'll be doing it step by step. So the aim is to learn about or to outline the musculoskeletal examination much more in detail. We'll be seeing that what kind of assessment or what are the components or what are the tools which are used for motor examination. So now, since we saw that sensory examination also had its subcomponents of superficial, deep and combined cortical, similarly the motor examination or the musculoskeletal examination has its own components which we will be studying in detail. So to just introduce the topic, I have included a short video. Let's start off with our lecture with a video first. So this is the assessment performer and I'll be explaining each component much more in detail. So first of all, in our assessment performer comes the demographic data. Now, what is demographic data is it includes all our personal details and all our personal details which are included in the starting page of our assessment performer, that is known as demographic data. So on the extreme right side of the assessment performer, we will have date of the assessment, which is very important for us to write down because we should know when was the assessment done and after how long the patient started getting relief or started getting better with the treatment you are providing. So we will then, after on the left side of the assessment performer, we will start off with our personal details or the demographic data, which is the name. Why do we write name? Because we cannot address a patient by uncle or aunties. We need to address them in a professional way, such as Mr., Miss, or Mrs., or ma'am or sir, with the name in front of that person. Next comes the age. Why age is important is because some of the problems or some of the diseases encounter or the patient suffers from them only at a particular age. For example, osteoarthritis only happens in the old age. The chances are very rare the patient would have arthritis in the early stages. So age gives us an idea that whatever the patient is symptoms we are listening to can have relevance to a particular kind of disease. Similarly is the case with the gender. Some conditions are more prevalent in males as compared to females. Address, we should know what is the address of the patient so that if we get to know that patient lives on the second floor and is going to get a total knee replacement, we should have an idea that yes, we need to now rehabilitate the patient according to that. Then occupation, and then marital status. Why marital status? We ask that is there anyone at the home of the patient to help him or her, or the patient would be completely on his or her own. Our rehabilitation varies accordingly. Then the socioeconomic status, how well off is the patient, so that even if you wish to prescribe an expensive treatment, you should have an idea that will the patient be able to afford that or not. Then dominance, is it right or left? If because if it is an upper limb issue and the person is having right sided pain and is a right side dominant, we will have an idea what could be the possible diagnosis of that condition. And the referral, who has referred that patient to you or the patient has self-referred himself to you. Just document it. So this is the first page of our assessment performer, all the personal details, which is known by the name demographic data. So now proceeding on, Then we will write presenting complaints, or the other name for it is chief complaints. Now what are presenting complaints? We have to write this in the patient's language. So now if patient comes to me and says, whenever I lift my hand, I have pain. So you have to document it exactly in the patient's words. You will not use any technical terms such as while flexing the shoulder, the patient experienced pain. This would be a very medical kind of language. So presenting complaint or chief complaint always has to be in the patient's language. Then we have history of present illness, that the patient who has come to you with a particular kind of problem, how long has this problem been going on, or was patient affected by this kind of problem before also. But the history of present illness will only address the problem in the past or the ongoing or the present condition, only for the condition for which the patient has come to the department. You will not address issues which are 10-20 years back, and that too not related to the joint. For example, I had fracture of my shoulder, and after 20 years patient comes to me with the problem of knee. I will be only writing in history of present illness the problems related to knee. I won't be much concerned about that 20 years back the patient had a shoulder fracture. Then we have onset. Onset mean was it sudden or gradual? So if you have a fracture, yes, the onset of pain would be very sudden. But whereas if you have rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, the onset of the pain would be very gradual. Slowly and steadily you started experiencing more pain. Then we have mechanism of injury. If there is no mechanism of injury, you just write here no mechanism of injury or not applicable. Then we need to write the location of the pain. Where is the exact location of that problem or pain? Do not write that the location of the pain is knee joint. Knee is a vast joint. Always mention where at the knee joint. The medial, the lateral, the superolateral, superomedial aspect documented clearly. There any kind of radiation, because radiation helps us to realize there is some nerve compression or problems with the nerve, and we always write down the path. For example, patient experiencing low backache with radiation down towards the left leg, over the area of the great toe. So for this we have already seen dermatomes in a previous session, so we will have an idea, okay, this nerve could be affected. Then duration and frequency. So we need to address duration key. Whenever the patient had pain or started experiencing pain, how long that pain persisted, and the frequency, how many times a day that pain comes and goes. Then what are the aggravating factors, means what kind of factors or what are the things that increases the pain of that patient, and hence the relieving factors. So in relieving factors, you, if the patient says I take painkillers, that relieves my pain, yes, you can document it, because yes, painkillers are also kind of relieving factors. So whatever the patient says, these are my aggravating factors, relieving factors, don't try to manipulate it, just document it as it is. So next we have what kind of a pain it is. Is it a constant pain that is continuous throughout the day, that is episodic, periodic, or occasional, happens sometimes? Then we read quality of pain. So quality of pain gives us an idea. If it is a dull aching pain, may address that the patient may be having some kind of muscular issue. If it is a throbbing pain, it could be some other thing. If it's a radiating kind of a numbing pain or a tingling kind of pain, then we will have an idea, yes, it could be a nervous compression or nerve issue. So we need to write the quality of pain little in detail. Then diurnal variation suggests or means that when is the pain troubling the patient, is it the night time or the morning time? So in the arthritis, the patient generally gives the history that diurnal variation is morning pain more as compared to the night pain. Then we have intensity of pain. For intensity of pain, we actually can use any of the three following scales. So first, the most commonly used is the VAS, or the visual analog scale, in which we just draw a 10 centimeter line. We do not put numbers on the visual analog scale. We just draw a 10 centimeter line, and this is the 0, that is no pain or no itchings, and the 10th one is the last portion of the line is 10, with that is the worst imaginable pain. We ask the patient, whatever pain perception you have right now at the moment, you just mark it anywhere, and then we measure it through the scale. So it can be covered in, it can come in the decimals as well. In verbal rating scale, we just ask the patient verbally that what kind of pain do you have? Is it 0, that is no pain, 1 is low pain, 2 is moderate pain, and 3 is severe pain. So it is all verbally happening. That is why the name verbal rating scale. Then next we have numerical rating scale. Now in numerical rating scale we draw a 10 centimeter line, and now we mention the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 0 being the no pain, 10 being the worst imaginable pain. So we need to be clear with the concept of visual analog scale and the numerical rating scale. In visual analog scale we do not put numbers, and in numerical rating scale we have to put the numbers. So proceeding on, then locking away or giving away of the joint or instability generally accounts for knee joint while the patient is walking. Does the joint lock, or the patient has the sensation of giving way, which may address the issue of quadriceps. If it is an upper limb, you will just upper limb issue the patient has come to, you will just write not applicable. Then we have behavior of symptoms or relation with activity. In this we need to write what activity. Similarly we can, so it is more or less similar to aggravating factors, what activities are actually increasing the pain of the patient. Then we have 48-hour pattern. 48-hour pattern means when the patient has come to the department for a particular kind of treatment, since last 48 hours has the pain increased or decreased. So if the patient says, I have come to you, doctor, today, and since the last 48 hours my pain has increased, just document it. Then we have specific medical history. If the patient has any kind of medical history which you think could be relevant to the kind of assessment you are doing, kindly write it down and document it. Then abnormal sensations are generally those kinds of sensations such as tingling, numbing, or any kind of abnormal sensation. If you have, just write it down. Then we have associated problems, if any. So associated problems means only related to that condition. Now if patient says I have neck pain and I also have shoulder pain, now neck pain is associated to shoulder pain, so you need to address that. But if the patient says I have neck pain and now I have a knee pain, now these two are not related to each other, not much associated to each other, so we can skip documenting that, right? Next, we have past medical history, which may generally include if the patient has diabetes, hypertension, tuberculosis, or allergy. Just write it down, and in the bracket, you will write it down. Is it controlled by medications or is it not controlled by medications? Then, any kind of treatment history for the particular problem patient has gone in the past, or is on taking painkillers, or any kind of surgery the patient had in the past. Family history, does the family has the same issue? Now fracture may or may not have a family history, that is not relevant, but if it is arthritis or any major condition, you need to write about the family history. Then any gynecological history for females, and personal history, that means is the patient smoke, drink, or anything. Social history, is the patient socially active or not. Occupational history, now detailed occupational history, how long does the patient takes to travel, by what means of transport does he travel, and everything. Recreational history, what does patient do for in his or her free time, you need to document it. And then functional limitations, that what activities the patient is not able to do. For example, because of the knee pain, patient is not able to walk for longer periods, just document it, right? So next we have observation. Now observation means where you do not touch the patient, you just observe the patient. So it is of two kinds, general observation and local observation. So let's see about the general observation. So first of all, we will write mental and emotional state of the patient. If the patient looks anxious, worried, you just write it down. If the patient is normal, not talking properly, just write patient has been observed completely normal. Posture of the patient to be observed in all three positions, the front, the side, and the lateral view and the posterior view. So you will start observing posture from the ear level, then from the shoulder level, the ASIS, the knee, foot, all three views to be documented. If the patient is unable to stand, you can also observe posture in the sitting position or in the lying position. And if the patient cannot go prone, do not observe posture in the prone position. Then we will also observe the gait of the patient, how is patient walking, and we will observe through that is there any problem which can be solved. We will have an idea by observing gait in maximum times what could be the possible issue. Then is the patient using any kind of assistive device, or is the patient willing to participate or not. Then we have local observation. We see attitude of the limb, patient says I have shoulder pain, left shoulder pain, so I will observe how is the patient's shoulder keeping up with it, how is he holding the shoulder. We will observe all the bony contours. Are my joints in a proper contour position or not, or is there any obvious deformity which you can observe. Then I will observe obviously the muscle bulk and the soft tissue contours. I will also observe for swelling. I will also observe for color and texture of skin, any trophical changes in the skin or nail. If yes, I will write it down. Any bursitis, callositis, any kind of involuntary movement, or if any scars or sinus is present in the body. After that, we come to examination. We will observe the vitals of the patient. Vitals examination include measuring blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate. These three things are the main things when we talk about vitals. Then we have mental status examination. If the patient seems nice to you, okay to you, you will just write normal. If you observe there is some issue, then we use a scale or a questionnaire known as MMSC, that is mini mental scale examination. So via that we can also go for mental status examination much more in detail. Then we have local examination. In that we have tenderness, so we will observe for tenderness. We have already read that tenderness has 4 grades, so you will touch that. Whatever the grade of the patient is, we will write it down. Then we will observe, measure the swelling. If the patient has swelling over the, for example, thigh or over the forearm, I will observe, we will measure the swelling via inch tape, 10 centimeter, 5 centimeter above, 5 centimeter below it, and we will compare it to the normal side. Then is there any tissue difference in tissue texture? I will touch it and feel the skin area. Then I will see for any scar examination, that is it vascular, is it adherent or non-adherent, is it tender or not tender. Then I will observe the peripheral pulses such as brachial artery pulse, radial artery pulse, the popliteal artery pulse below behind the knee, and the dorsalis pedis pulse, that is between both the malleoli in the foot. Then are there any crepitations? I will move up the joint which is causing pain to the patient. If there is any noise or crepitus observed, I will write positive. Then I will observe the temperature of the area which is actually swollen up or suspected to be swollen up. Is it hot or is it normal as compared? This all will be compared to the normal side or the other side. Then we have already seen sensory examination in detail. So I will be just skipping up this slide because we have already read about this quite a lot in detail. Coming to the next, we have motor examination. We will observe for tone. So tone is measured by MAS or modified Ashworth scale. We will see whatever the grade of the patient is. Is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? And subsequently we will write it down. The scale used for it is modified Ashworth scale. Then we will see for active range of motion, we will write down the joint. Then we will write, for example, shoulder joint. I will write right in the bracket. Then range of motion, for example, flexion. And here I will write 0 to 150, 160 degree. Then I will here write shoulder joint, left side, range of motion flexion, then so on. So after I have completed with my active range of motion, I will be coming to the passive range of motion, where I will also mention the end feel. This we have read it in our previous semesters as well. What is the end feel? It could be soft, hard, or it could be bony. So I will write joint, similar way, as ROM in the similar way, and end feel. So passive range of motion is always done after the active range of motion. Then we have capsular pattern. Every joint has a capsular pattern. For example, if shoulder has a frozen shoulder, my lateral rotation would be restricted more than abduction, and my abduction would be restricted more than medial rotation. So similarly, every joint has this kind of capsular pattern. So if it is positive, I will move the joint accordingly. If it is positive, I will just document it. Then resisted isometric contractions. I have discussed this part with you guys in previous semester, that this has 4 grades: grade 1, 2, 3, 4. Grade 1, painless and strong and painless, that is normal. Strong and painful, that means some muscular issue. And weak and painful, that means some kind of fractures or bony issue. Weak and painless means there is some nerve has completely detached itself from the muscle. Then we have MMT or manual muscle testing, which has 5 grades. We have been reading this since second year now. So here we will write joint, for example, shoulder joint, and then I'll write muscle group, for example, I would say deltoid, and then left side and the right side. I will just grade it up out of 5. Then we have muscle length testing, which I will be discussing in our next practical of the most common muscles. How to check for muscle length testing, is the muscle tight or not. Then I will go for joint play. Yes, joint play is very important. Joint play also has grades. We will see how much joint is able to move freely, or is there any blockage or any kind of movement which is being restricted through that because of any pathology. Then any coordination, if it's a muscular issue, generally coordination is not affected. If it is a neurological issue, we will use equilibrium, non-equilibrium test to check for the coordination, but that is another topic. Then we will check for leg length discrepancy, true leg length discrepancy, which is measured from ASIS to medial malleolus, and apparent leg length discrepancy, which is measured from umbilicus to the medial malleolus, and we will document it for both the legs. Then similarly, the way we discussed about checking up of swelling, we will check for limb girth. I will put up my inch tape, and then I will, let's say for example, I have a knee joint, I will put up the inch tape over my knee joint. I will measure it on left leg and right leg, and 10 centimeter above, 10 centimeter below. I will compare it to both the legs. Then I will check for chest expansion. I will put the inch tape at the nipple level. I will ask the patient to inspire and expire. And if the patient during inspiration, yes, it should be increased by 2.5 to 3 centimeters. If it is less than that, if it is less than 2 centimeter or 2.5 centimeter, that calls for an alarming situation. Then functional assessment. In functional assessment, we generally go for opting for any questionnaire, pre-established questionnaire or scales to grade out our condition. Then special test, every joint, every problem has a special test. We will check for special test. Whatever the tests are positive, we will write it down, and if they are negative, we will also document it. Then we will check for balance. Generally for balance, we use Berg balance scale, timed up and go test, 6-meter walk test, and hence various other tests we check balance for. Now in gait, we also check gait in our observation. In examination part, the gait, we will document every little detail about the gait. What was the cadence, step length, stride length, base of support, and everything will be documented much more in detail in this gait. Then we will go for investigations, and we will see if any X-ray, MRI needs to be done, or the patient already has a report for that. Then differential diagnosis, what are the possible situations or problems coming into our mind for the diagnosis. Then out of those, after everything, what was the provisional diagnosis, what were my goals of treatment, which could be the short-term goal or long-term goal, what was my treatment plan, and how regularly you want the follow-up. So this was all about the motor examination. I would say much more in detail about the musculoskeletal examination. So to summarize it, we learned about the musculoskeletal examination. We saw what kinds of assessment are generally done at it, and what are the tools or the components of the motor examination. So these are the practice questions which could be solved very easily now, I guess. And thank you so much.